Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving straight in today to look at how a scrappy, simple terminal experiment completely transformed into this massive, independent ecosystem that somehow managed to outmaneuver all the proprietary tech giants over the last 12 months. Seriously, this is not just about another neat developer tool. It's a look at a fundamental shift in how we're actually writing software today.
Just to put things into perspective right out of the gate, think about this number. 8 million. That is how many developers are firing up OpenCode every single month. It makes it the most popular open source coding agent ever created, period. It recently shot past 189,000 stars on GitHub, and honestly, the competition, it's not even close anymore. But the real story here isn't just a massive star count. It's what this project, which was originally built by the team at Anomaly, has managed to evolve into.
So let's hit part 1, unlocking true vendor freedom. Because the real secret sauce behind that massive adoption isn't just the clever code itself, it's the project's absolutely uncompromising commitment to tearing down walled gardens.
It really is a classic David versus Goliath situation. While corporate tools aggressively try to lock you into their specific ecosystems, like, Claude Code restricting you entirely to Anthropic, or Codex keeping you strictly within OpenAI's borders, OpenCode literally does not care whose model you run. It supports over 75 different providers. You can bring your own API key, plug into Google, DeepSeek, AWS, or just run local models. And here's the real game changer. You can actually swap models right in the middle of a session. If you start a task with a cheap, fast model and it gets stuck on a tricky logic problem, you just upgrade to a heavy hitter mid-thought without losing a single drop of your context. Honestly, no other mainstream agent is giving you that kind of power.
That brings us to section 2, 2-minute setup and the terminal experience. The crucial point we need to talk about here is just how effortlessly you can fold this into your daily workflow. Let's walk through it because getting started inside your terminal takes exactly 2 minutes. You just install it with a quick curl command or npm or homebrew, whatever you prefer. Once you're in, you run a simple /connect command to paste in your provider's API key. Then you run /init. And guys, this step is pure magic. It scans your entire project and generates this agents.md file right in your root directory. This file literally teaches the AI your specific folder structures, your coding conventions, and your unique patterns. You commit that file to Git, and bam, suddenly your whole entire team is collaborating with a perfectly tailored, hyper-aware AI setup.
Once you are actually inside the terminal UI, you're working mostly with 2 modes that you can just toggle with the tab key. You get a read-only plan mode, which is great to safely argue with the agent's logic before it actually touches any of your files, and then a build mode for when you're ready to execute. You can even drag and drop design screenshots directly into the terminal prompt. And look, if the agent makes a total mess of things, they built in an infinite stacking undo system. You just type /undo and it reverts the files. It's an absolute lifesaver for when your AI inevitably decides to go down a weird, hallucinated rabbit hole.
Okay, moving on to part 3, inside the agent ecosystem. This is where you transition from just a user into a manager of your own AI team, because this rabbit hole goes way deeper than standard terminal commands.
In this ecosystem, you can actually build specialist sub-agents. You aren't just relying on one generic AI to do everything anymore. Think about it like this. You can assign a front-end agent to run on a GLM 5.2 model because it completely aces design benchmarks. Then you configure a strict code review agent running on Claude, but you explicitly dial its temperature down near 0 so its output stays super rigid and perfectly consistent. You give them individual permissions, dedicated system prompts, and when you're working, you just tag them with the @ symbol, just like Slack. It is manual model routing at its absolute finest, and it's almost always cheaper and better than paying one flagship model to try and do everything.
Now, I have to highlight a massive hidden gem directly from the source material that you absolutely need to set up. Go into your config and turn on LSP, or Language Server Protocol. It's actually off by default, but when you enable it, it auto-starts the correct language server for your files. This is huge because the model stops guessing based on raw text and bridges the gap to actually read live type errors and compiler diagnostics in real time. I'm telling you, it heavily cuts down on those frustrating dumb mistakes because the AI finally understands the underlying logic of what you're building.
But to truly take over the market, the Anomaly team knew they couldn't just cater to command line power users. Enter Chapter 4, From Terminal to Desktop.
They recently shipped Desktop V2, and this is a huge deal. It means someone who is completely intimidated by the terminal can now run the exact same powerful agent engine in a clean, normal-looking native app from Mac, Windows, or Linux. It's got tabbed sessions so you can run tasks side by side, a familiar command palette, and a dedicated diff review pane so you can meticulously check code changes before accepting them. It even connects to remote machines, so you can let the agent run on your beefy home server while you control the whole thing from a lightweight laptop at a coffee shop. Which naturally brings us to part 5. A zero lock-in revenue model. Because seeing this scale of development begs a really fascinating question. How on earth does a completely free, MIT-licensed open-source project actually sustain itself against the massive billion-dollar budgets of Microsoft and Google?
Well, they built a genius monetization model that manages to generate revenue without trapping anybody in a subscription they can't escape. They offer 3 tiers. There's Zen, which is a pay-as-you-go gateway charged exactly at provider cost. But the real standout is the Go tier in the middle. For $10 a month, Anomaly buys GPU capacity in bulk and passes that bulk discount directly to you, targeting around 6 times that value in actual usage. It's perfectly aimed at international developers outside the major Tier 1 markets, and it operates with a strict zero retention policy on your code. They also have a black tier for premium closed models. And get this, it's actually so popular that they had to temporarily pause enrollment because demand completely outran their server capacity.
And the broader market reactions to this ecosystem really speak volumes. GitHub Copilot took one look at OpenCode's 8 million users and officially partnered with them, allowing Copilot subscribers to seamlessly authenticate as a backend. On the flip side, Anthropic has actively fought this trend, blocking their Premium Pro and Max subscriptions from working inside third-party harnesses like OpenCode. It is a stark contrast that tells you exactly where each of these companies thinks the future of developer tools is heading. One wants to build a bridge, the other wants to build a taller wall. So, stripping away all the hype and looking purely at the utility, it's time for Section 6, the final verdict. How does OpenCode actually stack up in an objective review? First up, flexibility. OpenCode absolutely wins this category. It is an undisputed victory. There is simply nothing else in the conversation right now offering this level of freedom to mix, match, and route models dynamically without being trapped in a single provider's ecosystem. Now for performance, well, the answer is that it depends entirely on the model you plug into it. Head-to-head, the underlying application might be slightly slower than tightly integrated native tools like Claude Code, but it actively trades that raw speed for much deeper, more thorough code-based exploration and project planning. When we look at cost, the financial overhead here is highly favorable. Pairing OpenCode with cheap open-weight models like DeepSeek or GLM is dramatically cheaper than paying for any flagship monthly subscription. That being said, if you are already fully trapped inside Anthropic's maximum bubble and happily paying for Claude Code, their native tool might technically give you more sheer volume per dollar. But again, you sacrifice your absolute freedom to get it. On privacy, OpenCode wins hands down. Because you can point it at local models through tools like Ollama, the whole setup can run fully offline. Your proprietary code never pings an external server. And for a lot of enterprise companies and security-conscious developers out there, this isn't just a nice perk, it's quite literally the only metric that matters when choosing an AI tool. We have seen a wild 12 months in this space. While proprietary competitors got acquired, completely split up, or just shut down entirely, this simple terminal experiment grew into a massive, incredibly stable ecosystem. It's the default recommendation for a very good reason. But it leaves us with one big, provocative thought to take away. As the AI wars get more expensive, and as tech giants try harder and harder to lock us all in, will independent, open source remain the stable default for developers moving forward? Let that sink in as you set up your next project.